Hey friends, in our time together today, I want us to talk about what I think is a really helpful technique in playing. It's an exit to a note. We talked recently about the slide ornament, which is a progressive entry into a note where you're actually bending the tone. Let me show you. So if I want to play an F, but I want to slide into it, I'll start lightly on the E and then bend my finger upwards. And depending upon how quickly I make that transition creates different emotion, different tone quality, and you can even use two fingers if you want to be pretty dramatic about it. It's very expressive and very helpful. But that is the entry into a note. Now, there is a similar exit to a note that creates slightly different but similar emotions. And I've not found it listed as an ornament. If you know, please comment in the comments to this video. I'm probably going to call it a technique. I'm going to call it the fade. So what you're doing is you're fading out from a note. And there are a couple of different ways you could fade from a note, and it accomplishes a couple of different things. So like with the slide, where you're entering a note, I'll do a two finger. Notice how that's a little more dramatic. With a fade, I'm going to fade from the note downward. I'm bringing that note to a closure by just fading out of it. But you don't want to use the note just below the note you're playing, because that would be like the opposite of a slide and it bends the note. Let me show you. You see the slight difference there? What I did was I was actually then transitioning to another note. I'm playing the G there, 3 holes covered, and I want the G to fade. So I would use the second hole below the G or the second and third for a little bit more dramatic fade. I wouldn't use the F because that changes the note. Now, you might say, Scott, that sounds really funny. When would I do that? Well, a number of instances. I have seen this used to close out a phrase, even in a fast song, where you really want to make a break. Sometimes you might take a big, you stop and take a big breath to accentuate your transition. You could fade to accentuate your transition. I've seen it most often in slower tunes. For example, we just did Londonderry Air. And when some of the phrases to Londonderry Air, toward the end of the second line, you are finishing that repeated phrase from the first 2 lines before you start stepping up into an increased emotion. So you might want to draw that down. And so you just gently put the second and third finger below the note you're playing. So it gets a little harder if you're like down here. There are other ways to do the fade away. And that is basically to permit yourself to start running out of air or to just stop your airflow. That's a little harder to control. You'll have to experiment with that one. You're just gradually killing your air. Using the fingers to cause the fade's a little better. And actually at the end of Londonderry Air, when we played that, I did a little bit of vibrato and then from the vibrato faded. And interesting interesting addition there. And I've looked through a number of the tunes we've played, and you could do this in a lot of the tunes. And yes, again, like I said, I have seen this played even in a fast tune, but not as much. Pay attention to how folks are doing. And I wanted you to know that this technique is available for you. Think about this as another way to express emotion or to create separation between phrasings in a tune. Closure and sigh are the two words I think of with regard to this technique. And I think it's a great way to end an emotional phrase. But don't, like with ornaments, don't use this technique so much that it's like, oh, don't, please stop it. Don't overdo it. Use it for impact, like you do ornaments. And I wish this had a name for an ornament. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you. I know you will find it helpful. Throw it into your tunes, play with it, experiment with it, see where it works. Try it out lightly at first. You don't want this too harshly accented, and use the at least the second finger below the note you're playing, because that first finger below is going to bend the note, and that would be something entirely different than closing the note off gently and gradually, as you can with the second and third fingers below. So anyway, I think that technique is a great one. I enjoy using it. I wanted to share it with you. Until next time, my friends, this is Scott Shade. Happy low D whistling.